name is Jacqueline Ruptash, VP Communications and IR for NexMetals Mining, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the newest future supply of critical metals from some of the largest past-producing copper, nickel, cobalt, sulfide mines in Africa. The next two slides are some cautionary language. NexMetals is a publicly traded Canadian-based development and exploration company, and we own title to the past-producing and permitted copper, nickel, cobalt, and PGE, Selkirk, and Salibe mines in Botswana, which we acquired out of a liquidation. And anyone unfamiliar, Botswana is considered a Tier 1 jurisdiction for mining and investment. The mines came with 10-year mining licenses and critical infrastructure in place, so shafts, road, power, rail, water. But importantly, they came with existing resources and significant upside potential for resource expansion. I won't have time to get into the history of everything right now, but come and see me after, and I'd love to provide more context into how they came to be. So what's the opportunity here? When we acquired these assets, our original investment thesis was that obviously the resources are larger than previously understood, and that with modern metallurgy, we could produce high-value metals with startup optionality for export. I'll just quickly show you this. This is the underground bottom of the shaft at Salibe North. You can see it's dry, it's clean, it's safe. I've been underground multiple times, so this is just an indication of the level of infrastructure already in place. Part of our early due diligence was focused on the Salibe mine and an initial borehole electromagnetic plate. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm looking at our geophysicist, Sharon, cover your ears. Borehole EM is basically a large metal detector that can map conductivity subsurface, and the only thing conductive in this environment are sulfides, which correlate to date to copper and nickel mineralization. What we did with this information in 2022 is we put a drill hole into the middle of it, and what that returned was 25 meters of copper and nickel sulfides, and this is basically what got us going. This was brand new information that no one else had at the time, and it really started our extensive mapping of mineralization beyond the legacy remaining resources. So fast forward to today, the results from our borehole and drilling programs have created somewhat of a treasure map, which appear to be telling a very different story about the deposit. So what was once thought to be two separate independent deposits, and the reason you see the shafts at either end, is now looking to us to be a continuous mineralized system. And that's shown here in yellow, each yellow plate representing essentially a new target. We've been drilling it extensively and continue to do so, and our expansion drilling programs really kicked off into high gear last year, funded by a $46 million raise that we did in March and a recapitalization of the company. So with this funding, we were able to execute drilling at Salibe North to really show the scale of the resource, a drilling program targeting the 2-kilometer gap that you see here between Salibe Main and Salibe North, metallurgical studies that resulted in very positively for Salibe, a reassay program of historical core, drilling programs and met studies at Selkirk, which are ongoing, and we'll move to Selkirk shortly after this. What did these programs tell us? Salibe North remains open at depth. We have been very successful in drilling that from underground. We announced last year that we can successfully produce a saleable, clean, separate copper and nickel concentrate, providing startup optionality, removing a lot of the risk. It's going to be a lot less capital, and simply put, we have the option to not build a smelter. And excitingly, we put some holes into this 2-kilometer gap that we refer to as the hinge zone. It's the first time that we've drilled into this area, and that was to test our theory that the mineralization is continuous. So what we did is we drilled 3 holes, 2 holes near Salibe North and 1 near Salibe Main, and all 3 holes hit mineralization. But not only that, subsequent borehole results redirected our targeting to a high priority area on the lower end of the Salibe Main resource, and follow-up work from that delivered the highest amplitude borehole response recorded at Salibe, Maine in the company's history. And that's what we call the superconductor. And so what we're hoping is the superconductor represents thickening, because thicker zones typically hold a longer charge. And this is the highest response we've ever seen. So the first data-driven redirected hole intersected 11 meters of sulfides, and it was positioned in and targeting the northeast portion of this superconductor. So we know it's there. We know the mineralization is there. The borehole hasn't lied to us yet. We think we just haven't hit the best part of it, meaning we need to refine our drilling, which we're doing now, and we have multiple holes already in progress. But it's important to point out the scale, because these are large step outs. We're talking like 250 to 400 meters. 202, for example, is 1,500 from 201. And this makes a difference because we could potentially expand Salibe, Maine much quicker than having to do more dense drilling. But our program this year will be focused on just that. We'll be targeting roughly 30,000 meters to hopefully follow these thicker zones at Salibe, Maine. Salibe North, we have just over 40,000 meters that we've drilled that are not accounted for in the initial MRE. And simultaneous to the drilling, we'll be continuing underground development. And that will provide more access for future deeper underground drilling. Selkirk, open pit opportunity, equally as exciting, 75 kilometers to the north of Salibe. It has an abundance of historic work on it as well, from Leonor, Norilsk. It's lower grade copper nickel than the Salibe, but it has the added value of platinum and palladium. I would consider this an advanced project. It has a lot of engineering studies on it today. We completed a drilling program last year to feed into the metallurgical studies and a resampling program to bring in the PGE data that was never accounted. So it previously produced a bulk concentrate, and we're applying the same flow sheet as Salibe to see if we can produce that separate copper and nickel concentrate with the added benefit of the PGEs. So that will be exciting. I'll talk quickly about our cap table, because in November of last year, we raised an additional 80 million, but with this came a group of, we were able to attract strong, long-only resource fund institutions, and one of those groups is Condire out of the US with a 9.9% shareholding. We also had the continued support from our largest shareholder, EdgePoint. Part of the proceeds from that raise was used to prepay a $25 million milestone payment, which secured title to both the Salibe and Selkirk assets, de-risking the assets and the company, and really putting us in a position of strength to move forward this year. So what does this year look like? Over the coming weeks, we'll have some spillover from the 2025 programs by way of assay results for both Salibe and Selkirk. We can expect to see results from the Selkirk MET studies that we're doing right now. That should be exciting. In Q1, we'll take all this information that we got from Selkirk and we'll publish an updated mineral resource estimate. We'll continue to focus, obviously, our data-driven drilling program to expand the Salibe Maine resource. And we'll take all of that information as well as the breakthrough metallurgical results from Salibe, and we'll put that and publish in Q3 of this year an updated mineral resource estimate, and shortly thereafter a PEA, also slated for Q3. So a lot of work, all funded, all exciting, lots of news flow, and I hope we could create a lot of noise this year and provide updates as we're going, because it should be a really exciting time. With that, if there's any questions, there is a lot of history here and it is quite exciting. You can come see me at booth 308. But yes, with that, to the new faces, thank you for your interest, and for the ones I recognize, your continued support.